Hi, I'm Crosstitch. As you may have noticed by now, I'm a fan of horror. As a genre, it's been pretty important in my upbringing. I've been watching horror movies since first grade. I remember telling my friend about Ghost Ship. It's a pretty old movie nowadays, but still an adult film by most means. Horror has made me the rabbit I am today. Overall, I'd like to thank my parents for being more liberal in raising me and my siblings. I think because I had a brother and a sister, they allowed me to watch these kinds of movies. I never had nightmares because of them. I think overall, I turned out alright. All's well that ends well. I remember watching movies like The Final Destination. I'd always leave the theater paranoid of tripping on a rock or getting cut in half by a sign from the store. I'd watch movies like Saw 2 that had a scene where a girl was thrown into a pit of needles. Used needles. It definitely didn't give me my phobia. That's the fear of needles, by the way. I did, however, watch The Mist and didn't get arachnophobia. I don't know how I saw the skull spiders and wasn't terrified of them for the rest of my life. Baby spiders will still get to me though. When they swarm, that is. Overall, I realized that in modern day, I'm a lot less scared than I used to be by horror. It has a lot to do with what setting I'm in, and I kind of have to be alone or else I don't really get that scared. That's kind of why I want to make horror animations. It's important to me to do it justice. Though my way of doing it will differ from others. I mean, my approach is more tragedy, less scare. I like beauty in the macabre. If you've seen Arizona, you'll notice that the opening is more serene than you would expect from horror. Well, I take a lot of inspiration from many things, but there is one show from my past that I can relate back to time and time again for inspiring me the most. It's a decently well-known anime, but not really in pop culture for the US at least. Yeah, I know, an anime. Really? Not The Shining or The Exorcist? As I do like those movies, I didn't really respect them until I was an adult, so the impact wasn't that big. No, this show hit me at the right time. What I mean by that is that this show hit me right when I needed it. It's influenced me the most in my life. It's called When They Cry, or the Japanese is Higurashi no Naku Koroni. On the surface level, it looks like a cutesy anime, but the cover of the box art dictated otherwise. A little backstory, me and my brother used to watch anime together, a lot. It still do from time to time. We watched all sorts like Fooly Cooly, Fruits Basket, Yu Yu Hakusho, and Ouran High School Host Club. A mixed bag, but we didn't really watch any horror animes aside from Gantz. That could have been before or after watching When They Cry, but it is still a new concept for me nonetheless. Well, we popped it in expecting horror, and we're surprised to find that it was pretty jovial and cute, aside from the opening. Someone is beating someone else to death with a metal baseball bat, but after that everything seems pretty peachy keen. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I like to talk about the approach that the show took to horror. The only thing I will say is that the story structure is a bit wonky. It's set up with question arcs and answer arcs, each being about 4 episodes long. Usually the question arc will be answered later in a different arc in an answer arc. And about every arc is a new story in which one of the main characters goes crazy, but it's usually a different character than the previous arc. The story structure is all over the place, but it's well worth the watch if you like horror. I highly recommend it, so long as you can stomach gore. What this show does well is making you like the characters before they snap, go crazy, and kill somebody. It leads you in with cute characters, with flaws and traits and all that kind of good stuff, subtly dropping hints as to who is insane in this arc and whatnot. What I appreciate is that they really did their best to make the style very pretty. Not that drab and bleak stuff. I think it's still pretty to look at. It makes the contrast to the gruesome scenes just that much more impactful. The music is often pretty, with creepy undertones that gives it a nice, but subtle, off-putting feel. It's like the uncanny valley with music. Like the Song of Healing in The Legend of Zelda. This show also taught me a lot of life lessons, like don't frame someone for your crimes or don't lie. I don't know how many deaths could have been avoided if people were just telling the truth. This show taught me that there can be more to horror than just gore and jump scares. Now there's a lot of gore in it, but I don't think they rely on that. That is a big part of the scare though, so don't underestimate it. I mean, I had already known that jump scares and gore don't make horror, but I never realized that you could bring happiness into horror. I figured that the worst fear is losing what you've come to cherish. And when these characters I wanted to be friends with died because their inability to trust each other, just made me understand that there's so much more to horror, with good lessons to be learned. I don't know if I'll ever be able to capture that, but I'm gonna try my best. That's why I'm trying something new here. I want to try to learn how to tell better stories. Bear with me for a bit because I'm going to be working on my art style and animation techniques a lot. I have a plan for the channel, but I need to get better at the craft before I can take on that project. Until then, don't expect anything specific from here other than tragedy and horror, my two favorite things. Until then, this is Cross Stitch. Peace out!